Your fears are being realized. Heads up, folks. What do I mean by that, and why are our fears being realized? Because we're going through a fast ascension event. Energies are coming in, things are speeding up, manifesting of the good stuff has become a lot easier. But so has manifesting of your fears as well. My life right now feels like I'm facing all my worst fears all at the same time. I could have lost everything when my senile old wino neighbor almost started his kitchen on fire. I've been buying things for the house I'm to share with Ivo, and of course I don't want to lose them. I also have paintings and other things that are irreplaceable. The old guy also keeps calling to me to come and help him because he's so feeble, but then the next day he zooms down the driveway, hops into a cab and spends the whole day at the bar until last call. I think there's some acting going on here. I know if I help this guy, I can kiss all my money goodbye because he seems to have more use for it than I do and I have a use for it. You know you're only going to see the first 20 back and after that he won't repay you. I've seen a master doing it before, how to screw someone out of their cash through borrowing, and this guy is a pro too. I woke up the other day to find fingerprints on my car door. These weren't just fingerprints, they were covered in some kind of light-colored soot so they were very visible. Why my car alarm didn't sound, who knows? But why are there fingerprints all over the door handle and then it appeared as if someone was trying to pull at the edge to get the door open? Like that's gonna work if the car's locked, which it always is. Thieves are desperate, they're not smart. My neighbors had told me before their car had been broken into because they hadn't locked it and had left money in it. Mine has no money in it but it's always locked and very close to me all the time. I wish the car alarm had sounded but it didn't. What's up with that? Maybe I'll call the dealership. Was talking to a man at the park the other day and it turns out this guy is someone who had emailed me and I had to block. I'm sure it's the same guy and I know he's watching this video. While I spoke to him, having a pleasant conversation, I sensed something negative coming from him. Energy doesn't lie. So I cut the guy off and then he shows up in my city. I know it's the same guy and if you continue to bother me, Pierre, I'll call the cops. Your attention is not welcome. My point is, this may be going on for everybody on Earth now, facing our worst fears. And if our fears are fears of war, then guess what? It'll be created for you. Everyone wants to know when all this will end. It's simple. When you stop fearing a bad outcome. Ivo, how do we deal with fears? Ivo, focus. Use your imagination to create the opposite scenario. As I said recently in the universal law of polarity, focus on its opposite. So if you fear something, focus on a successful outcome. If you fear this man stealing all your money, then focus on having your abundant income safe and out of harm's way. If you fear losing your vehicle, then focus on your vehicle being safe. Bless everything. That's correct, my love. When you bless everything, you do not see it as a fear. Not immediately, but when you sit and ruminate about things you could change your mind. Ivo, you could, but then bless them again. See all as being part of God's goodness. Really it is, because someone who tried to break into my car didn't get away with it. The car was locked and it stopped them from getting in. Ivo, yes, but even before that, see the potential thieves as blessed beings. This renders life harmless, my love. I know you are frowning and sliding your eyes sideways thinking, what? How's that? But this renders life harmless. Continue to bless. It clears the energy. That sounds religious to me. I'm not from that part of town. Ivo, then find another way to say the same thing. Simply think, you are part of a loving God, then instead of blessing them. Okay. But then I have to realize that sometimes I can't stop everything. Because something might happen because it's somebody else's fear. And that I think is the thing with my neighbor, we not longer speak because of the vulgar comment he made. I think I have a fear of living here alone with nobody to talk to, which I don't even think is really a fear. It's something I've been actively working at anyway because I don't relate to anyone here. But he was saying before how supportive I am of him and his family and how I'm always there for them. And I was until he made that comment. That was a deal breaker. So his fear is realized, that I abandoned them. And I did. Yes, my relationship with them is conditional. Unfortunately it's hard to be unconditionally loving when your lecherous neighbor is making filthy comments about you, never mind perhaps considering taking another shot at seducing you because it sounded like he wants to. I've always say, unconditionally loving, but not unconditionally living. If you don't set boundaries, your higher self will not embody itself into this dimension through you. You have to have things in relative order. Ivo, which is true, my love. Of course, proof of this truth is what is called soul splitting, and the soul will split off into fragments when continually experiencing trauma. What constitutes trauma for one soul can be very different from another, depending on their sensitivity level and frequency. There is mind control in place to keep the minds of the male in a state where they do not respect women, and vice versa, which we have been discussing in our videos about male and female toxicity. This plays out all the time as fears. You feared your relationship with him going sour again, and it did. Me, oh well. He's not going to change, and I'm not going to put up with that. LOL. I was on the comments section of just one of our channelings the other day, and I heard a comment to the effect of, "Why I have all these problems." The reason I have these problems is because I deal with my problems. I don't brush them under the rug like so many other people do. The reason you don't seem to have any is because you're not dealing with them. The comment I'm thinking of was by someone who isn't in empathy, because they suggested I might be a bot. I'm sorry, but I had to laugh. I've been called lots of things but never a robot. The other reason I air my woes to the world is so people can hear Ivo's advice to me. Otherwise, obviously I would keep my problems to myself. Since many people can't hear their spirit guides and I can, I figure my problems are relatively similar to many others, so I share the answers I get for their sakes, and this is because the problems I tend to have are caused through overcoming mind control, and this is something that affects all of us. Ivo, yes, it sounds like a very shut down person. No empathy, no compassion, only intellectual interpretation of what they had just read. Me, and if the channeling was dealing with an issue, of course no recognition of that and no reflection on their own issues. I love to see comments where people reflect on how the topic we've discussed has touched their lives. What my problems are is irrelevant to everyone, except in any way that they might be affected by them as well. Really folks, you have to become introspective right now, otherwise your fears will crop up like mine have been. What I'm feeling is that it's time for a change. Like I'm being prepared to leave, and thank God for that. Everything I have to deal with is hitting me like an avalanche right now. Just thinking if this is happening to you, and frankly it appears to be on a global level, because we're going through our collective shadow, maybe we could offer some help. For 12-steppers, pull out your fear inventory sheets and get started if you're not current. For others, write down the worst things you think could happen to you and then focus on visualizing the opposite. Affirm a more positive outcome for yourself. So within the space of the last month, I've lost my friends, could have lost all my belongings, almost got broken into, and am in the annoying situation of having several men pursuing me that I don't want. If it continues, I will notify the police. I don't preach about treating yourself well without taking appropriate measures to keep myself safe. I keep myself as safe as possible. I have a right to go anywhere and feel safe, and I exercise that right judiciously. I also carry pepper spray and would not think twice about using it. But I believe for all of us, this is a time where time is speeding up and we are more magnetic than we ever have been. We attract the lessons we are to learn much more quickly than we ever did before. And the lessons we have to learn right now involved facing our fears. What types of fears do people tend to have? About losing something, including your life, about changes like becoming sick. Well, I ended up looking up a list of 14 fears and found a great article. I'll link it in below, if I remember. That's probably number 15, fear of forgetting. I have that fear, so I keep a day timer and sticky notes. Yeah, these are great. A very good list, and they would make a great inventory. Fear of disease, sickness, or poor health, fear of losing your job, fear of dying, fear of loneliness, fear of uncertainty about your future, fear of failure, fear of making decisions, fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of stupidity, ignorance, or lack of knowledge, fear of losing your most important relationships, fear of public speaking, fear of being poor, and fear of success. Don't know if they mentioned it, but another one that can be petrifying for some people is fear of making a mistake. That might be ignorance or lack of knowledge. I can see a lot of these fears being played out on the world stage right now, especially the first ones about disease, losing your job or your security, dying, uncertainty about future, even fear of conflict, because what's conflict at a global level? It's war. They should have written that 1 and 2, fear of war. That's a category on its own. Maybe fear of not having enough, like food for example, or being able to pay for gasoline to get to work. Like we've said, I think it was Ashtar, the first 3 chakras are getting a good rebalancing right now as we go through ascension in the 4th dimension. It leads to love, which is the heart. But security, sexuality and creative abilities and power are all being rebalanced in those who are going to go. We should be seeing some good breakthroughs coming soon. Anyway, these are good areas to consider journaling about and acknowledging your fears around, and then looking to see if you are manifesting any of them right now. I know I have another one. Don't know if it's a fear, but if you get angry about it, then it probably is, and that's fear of having to put up with nonsense. I'm sorry, but right now a lot of what I see going on, and even what I appear to be attracting, looks like nonsense to me. It looks and feels crazy to me, and I tend to just look and think, you're joking. Do I have to deal with this? Here I am creating magic on an everyday basis, and yet I have to put up with dumb stuff like this. But it has to be dealt with. Ivo, indeed it does, my love. You are so brave. Me, I came here, didn't I? And folks, give yourself a pat on the back today. You signed up to take on Earth at one of its worst periods in history. Ivo, indeed, you did. You must all congratulate yourself on your bravery and admire your own strength of character.